Hello, everybody. Welcome along. Another interview special football. Martin is here. So we are talking Southampton, which means we're probably talking playoffs as well. Martin, riddle me this. I hear Will Still on Monday Night Football talk, and I think he sounds really smart and a forward-thinking hire. And I look at that Southampton squad. So before we get on to talking about Tonda Eker, why are we sat here in December and Will Still's tenure was such a miserable failure, frankly?
I can't believe it turned out like it did. I'm really surprised because I was so excited for the appointment. Like I was really excited for the appointment. I saw him on Monday Night Football. I watched a podcast that he was on and he came across really well. And I had the pleasure just before the Portsmouth game in August to go and sit with him. The club allowed me to interview him. I had sort of 20, 30 minutes in his company. I thoroughly enjoyed it. He came across really well. But the one noticeable thing that came out of that interview and that conversation that we had was around the trauma that he kept speaking around in the building. He said there was a lot of trauma in the building, not just within the playing staff, but also within the club. And he referred to that a few times in press conferences. And I thought it was all about moving forward. Fresh manager, fresh players. We signed some really good players in the summer window. And I thought it's time for a fresh start. Let's not keep looking back on last season because last season was just so dire for any fan, and we all wanted to move forward. And we thought after the Wrexham game, that victory, we were really going to kick on. But his football at times was very, very safe. I don't think he wanted to. We let a lot of goals in last year, and I think a lot of it was trying to stop us conceding goals. And a lot of the players that they brought in, it was led by Johannes Spors, the sporting director. I wondered at times whether they were really aligned in the players that were purchased, because Will Still didn't always prefer to play Tom Fellows, who was an outstanding player for West Brom last year. Finn Azaz coming, he didn't play a great deal of football under Will Still, and I thought it was strange, and it didn't help them integrate actually into the club and into the squad. And then they also, I should say, Johannes Spors, the sporting director, went and gave a contract extension to Jack Stevens, who was the club captain. And within 4 or 5 games, he was dropped from the squad, well, from the starting 11 for a period of time. I've always thought, when that happens and you're not playing the players that have been bought for you, and the club captain, who Spors come out and said, it was my decision, we needed leaders, he's a leader, and he wasn't in the team, I thought, this might not end well. And yeah, it didn't.
It's interesting. We often talk about modern managers versus, managers from when you and I were growing up, and these big, charismatic, larger-than-life figures now. And the team I support, Kieran McKenna, is very understated and kind of calm, and it's not that he's not charismatic, but he's not a big tub thumping manager. I mean, you've obviously added a lot more detail in terms of the infrastructure and what was actually happening with the players. But from the outside, I looked at Still, and I watched a few of the press conferences actually, and it wasn't very rousing for the fans, particularly as you point out at a time where there'd been a long losing run last season, and he just needed to get the thing going. So that was my kind of look from the outside. But when you continually talk about last season and trauma, you're almost bringing it back into the room, aren't you, Martin?
Yeah, and that was a big thing for me. It kept coming back into the room, and I think the fans got pretty fed up with it pretty quickly. Performances were nowhere near good enough for the squad of players that he had. He just didn't get the best out of the group. I think when you make a really good point on the press conferences and the way he come across, he was like that a lot in post match as well. On the sideline, I saw him really animate.
Martin, he sounded a bit surly. I'm sure he was just trying to, answer the questions, but he sounded a bit grumpy, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he looked really animated against Wrexham at home when we won that game, but I didn't really see it again. He bit him a lot with John Messinio in the derby. I was sat right behind the dugout that day as well, and I could see them going at each other, and it was just like niggle. But he never really got himself going in the job. I think he really struggled with the change. Johannes Spors did his first interview with the local media last week. So we sat down with the local media, and they were able to ask him questions. And he said that he struggled to deal with the change in the club. It just wasn't about personnel, but there was a lot of changes behind the scenes in terms of what they'd done as a football club. And he referred to still struggling to adapt and able to deal with all the changes that went on. And yeah, it certainly turned out that way.
It's really easy for us now to play Captain Hindsight, and obviously we should acknowledge our privilege of that we now know what did happen if you took Will Still out of the job. But that's obviously gone quite a long way to prove that it really, really wasn't working. And I remember at the time, there was a lot of conversation about Sport Republic being rubbish at hiring managers, because other than Russ Martin, who obviously took you up last time in the Championship, the Nathan Jones thing hadn't worked, and we had this weird period with Ivan Juric, and then Will Still hadn't worked. But, and we'll get on to Thunder Eker, has what we've seen since proved that Sport Republic were actually right, that Will Still may be a good football manager. Yeah, he may be very credible. He may be a good manager in the Championship in the future, but he wasn't the right manager for Southampton at this point, and it seems quite clear now with the results since that it was the right call for him to go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was always very much of the matter of a fact, and probably I'm going against it now because Ekert's done well. But I always thought after what had gone on last year and the change that was happening at the football club, you'd need somebody with some real leadership, some experience that was going to get the best out of the players, that knew how to deal with this division because it's such a difficult division. And the fact that you, as a parachute payment club, the expectation is bare minimum playoffs, but you want to be in the top two. And I thought they needed a real leader to do that. Still didn't come across as a leader. I think it still remains to be seen. We'll come on to Eker, whether he'd be the right man long term. He stepped in at a perfect time, really, but still had to go after the Preston defeat, and the fans voiced so much vent towards the owners. A lot of fans felt that maybe the owners kind of took that flack away from themselves by sacking the manager the day after. But it was so toxic inside St Mary's after that Preston game. It was, I don't think I've quite seen it like that. It was bad with Nathan Jones after the Wolves defeat in the Premier League a few years ago, but that was quite something else at the start of November. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Before we talk about what Ekert's done, just explain to me, because I was talking at the time, I suppose it's a bit unfortunate because the manager's job came up at Southampton at the same time as Alan Sheehan was getting sacked at Swansea. And then everybody's saying, well, look, this is what happens if you take one of the staffers and give him the job. It'll work well for a while and then you'll end up sacking him. But that's not, Eker wasn't sat there on the staff as a Will Still underling. He was kind of removed as a under 21 boss. Am I right? And so you'll elucidate on that. But this is not just taking one of the backroom staff and giving him the job, is it?
No. Johannes Spors said in the interview last week with local media that he'd always had him in mind to become the first team manager. He was the under 21 manager. They were unbeaten up until he stepped up and took the first team. But he was highly thought of, and a lot of people around the club when he joined Eker, they were saying that it's a real coup to get him as your under 21 manager because he come with a really good reputation and worked under Patrick Vieira for a period of time and had done well wherever he'd been. And yeah, I think that it was always the progression to move him to the first team at some stage. Obviously it was never meant to be this early. Adam Lallana was Will Still's. Well, he was on his coaching staff. He was a part of his coaching staff. And I think a lot of people at the time thought, well, Adam Lallana will step in and become the caretaker manager. Well, he's actually stepped down now and looks like he's going to become the full-time under 21 manager. That hasn't been confirmed yet. But I think a lot thought that Lallana was going to be the man to take the reins.
So what has Eker done then? Because we've had this win streak. We've had plenty of goals at both ends. And can you imagine if you've got Adam Armstrong and you actually play him down the middle and make him your focal point, that he scores loads of goals in the championship? It can't be that simple. What has Eker done other than not being Will Steele?
Yeah. He's made some lovely tweaks. I think the fixtures fell nicely for him. I'll be totally honest. It was QPR, then Sheffield Wednesday, and then we had the international break, and we come out and we played Charlton, and we just caught Charlton right off guard that day. He's moved Finn Azaz and he's played him more central. So Finn Azaz has a little bit more freedom to go and play the role that suits him as a player. He's got Tom Fallows in the side, which was an absolute must, and he's got him
wing back.
Yeah, he's playing at wing back, which is a strange one because he likes to play with he's kept with the same system that Will Steele was playing, but he's tweaked personnel like a Finn Azaz. Fellows is playing higher up the field, but he's let Taylor Harwood-Bellis go back to playing his natural. He's playing on the right side of the three, which suits Harwood-Bellis. He played on the left a little bit under Will Steele. Totally alienated him as a player. But he's able to step in and play that right back role a little bit like a hybrid right back. He step in when Fallows is high up the field and he looks to play balls into him. He's given Harwood-Bellis a bit of freedom to play. I like that. Casper Yander, the central midfielder, has been really good. He's given him a real responsibility in midfield. But the standout player for him in his time as the manager has been Leo Cienza. He's an absolute gift of a player to have at your football club.
He's
direct.
On loan, is he?
No, they've bought him. They've
got
bought
him permanently. Oh, ouch.
Yeah, he's come in from Hoffenheim. It was about 7-8 million. He is going to be worth a lot of money. For me, from what I've seen of him, people won't like me coming on saying it, but he will go and play in the Premier League. For me, he's that good. He can go on the inside. He can come on the outside. He's got everything that you want in a player that plays direct, and he's forward thinking. He gets the ball and he looks forward. Under a lot of time under Will Steele, we have players that look backwards and sidewards. When we're at it and we're playing free-flowing, fast football, you get Fallows on the ball and you get Cienza on the ball and they go forward. And then Adam Armstrong, you touched upon him. The way he's brought Adam Armstrong out of his shell, he's never played the number 9 role properly for Southampton in the whole of the time at the club. He's just not done it, Benjamin. He's just not done it. But he's got him dropping in the holes and he's got runners in behind him. So he's letting Cienza go behind him. He's letting Fellows go on, Azaz. And often you'll see Yander make the runs from midfield. So all of a sudden you've got a front four that's working really well. But the real focal point of it is Armstrong. And he's really come of age. And a lot of people wrote him off. But for me, he's such an intelligent player. He's come of age. He's playing the best football in a Southampton shirt I've seen, and he scored 24 goals last time round. I think he'd surpass that and beat it. I honestly do, because the form that he's in, though he missed the penalty at the weekend, he's been nothing short of brilliant under Tonder Eker.
Just talk to me. The only thing that's concerning me from a Southampton point of view is, I mean, it's great when I'm covering it as a neutral, just so many goals, but they are going in at both ends, and you've actually conceded 8 goals in the last 4 games. So is it a little bit too loose, or are you giving with one hand and taking with the other, and that's just the consequence of having Azaz, Cienza, you know, the front four that you kind of said all in the team at one time? Is the balance there? And the reason I say that is because Middlesbrough and Coventry got a nice old lead, and we know that massively attacking teams don't tend to win playoff semi-finals, do they?
No, and that's my biggest concern is we're really good for 45 minutes. So in all the games under Eker that we've been good in, we've been fantastic for 45 minutes, been brilliant. You look at the games where we scored all the goals. Up at Charlton, we were brilliant. 5 in the first 45 minutes were brilliant. Second half, it was a poor second half performance, really. Leicester City at home, 3 in the first half, really, really good. The same against Birmingham City. I think it was 2 in the first half, really, really good. Second halves has just not been good enough. The same against West Brom as well, to be fair, last Tuesday. Played some brilliant opening football, but we come out the second half and we let teams back in. And I think the biggest issue is when you play with wing backs, you're asking a lot of Fellows, and if that's Manning on the left side, to work really hard to get back and stop crosses, because we're really vulnerable from crosses. You look at the amount of crosses that West Brom put in the box on Tuesday night. They put loads in. The same at Norwich at the weekend. They kept getting
Well, you've
crosses in the
got
box.
Coventry next, so you know what's coming, don't you?
Yeah, and that's what worries me is that you have to stop it, and you've got a goalkeeper that the fans, everybody feels the same about Bazunu. That he spends a lot of time on his line. He's not commanding, and he's not the goalkeeper that the fans want. I don't think Alex McCarthy's the goalkeeper for us, but we need a goalkeeper. He is struggling a little bit at times, Bazunu. He doesn't command his area, and as we take pressure from teams and we get put under a press, we get deeper and deeper, and that maybe the centre backs don't trust him so much, so we end up too deep, and then we just invite sides onto us, and that's exactly what happened against West Brom, and exactly what happened against Norwich at the weekend.
You've linked me perfectly. You've done this before, haven't you? You've linked me perfectly here into the promotion race, and I suppose it's crept up a little bit because we've had this 4-game win streak from Middlesbrough. And we've just had a round where I think Ipswich and Millwall were 3rd and 4th, and they both lost. And Middlesbrough have done a 9-point week on top of that. And I mean, we knew Coventry were kind of away and clear with a lot of margin for error. And then all of a sudden, Middlesbrough, I know there's a 5-point gap, they're kind of going with them. And you see those two way out. And I remember last time we spoke, we were already in front of it saying, oh, parachute teams, Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton year 1 and Sheffield United year 2, all not where they would have hoped to be. How do you perceive this promotion race given A, the big gap, and B, and we support 2 of them, so we're saying this with all humility, the underperformance of the parachute teams?
Yeah, I'm surprised at the 3. If I'm honest, I'm surprised by the inconsistency of Ipswich. I honestly thought a couple of weeks ago they're going to pick up a run, and all of a sudden they were going to be. For me, they're still the favourites to get a top 2 spot. I still think they'll be there. I was surprised at the slip at the weekend and the performance against Leicester as well. I've seen the highlights. I've spoken to a couple of Leicester fans, and they were surprised at the performance. Leicester, when I watched them a couple of weeks ago at St Mary's, I thought were dreadful. They were really poor. I didn't think actually on the night they actually played for the manager. I thought they were really disorganised, and they were well off the pace, and they got found out really quickly. They got some
class individuals though, haven't they, Leicester?
Yeah, and the goal the weekend was just magnificent, wasn't it, from Pato? It's such a good goal, and they've got great players. I still think they'll be there. They'll be in the playoffs for me. The sides that have impressed me when I've watched them, I really enjoyed Millwall's performance when we went there. I went to the Den. It's a hostile place to go. I know they got beaten at the weekend, but I was so impressed with the amount of injuries they had. I just thought as the front 3, I thought were really good. Is it Finney Aziz? Aziz? Aziz. He was so good. He looks to me like a player that's destined to play at the top level. When I watched Stoke in the flesh, I think they're probably the most exciting side I've watched on the day. In person, I really enjoyed watching them play. The 2 wide men caused us loads of problems. They were compact. They knew how to absorb pressure. And I still think they'll be there at the end of the season. A lot of people think they're going to fall away, but I do think Stoke are going to be right in the mix. They will win so many more games than they lose. And I get to see Coventry at the weekend in person, and I'm so looking forward to seeing them because such an impressive job that Frank Lampard's done. Brilliant group of players. There's goals all over the pitch. You look at the goals they've scored. It's been unbelievable.
I'm looking at Coventry, and I mean, people come back, and I get very cross actually with people telling me how many games there are to go, and there's a long way to go, blah blah blah. But the very, very basic maths and logic, take Middlesbrough out of it at the moment. Middlesbrough, by the way, have now hit the 2 points per game mark that gets you 92 points and normally gets you promoted if you can see that out through the season. But I think what people need to understand on just very basic maths on Coventry is it would take some type of collapse now for Coventry not to do it, as in, add 40 points on from the remaining 25 games. I can't do the maths massively quickly. That's 87. They're up with 87. So it almost makes me think that the likes of Southampton and Ipswich with the parachute money and the good squads are chasing one place. Do you see it that way? Am I being too all in on Coventry? I've just done this before, Martin, and I've seen teams have that advantage. The likes of Bournemouth and Fulham, West Brom. I've seen, and particularly Bournemouth and West Brom, both. They're both under Scott Parker and Slaven Bilic have poor second halves of the season and still at least get second place. So it's a very long ramble that kind of forms a question.
I just see Coventry winning it. You look at their forward line and where the goals come from. Haji Wright, I think he's a great player. Thomas Asante, I know he's got injured. I think he misses the game against us at the weekend, but he's been really, really good. Ellis Sims, there's goals all over the park, and then they've got a superb midfield as well. I think that they'll go and win it. I wouldn't put it past
Martin.
Borough.
I've just quickly done that maths. 1.6 points per game would be the 40 to take them to 87. So you're just kind of bog standard, kind of 6th or 7th place form for the rest of the season, and I think they're up. But carry on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they're up. I think they will go up. Whether Borough can keep it going, that's a big ask.
And they're getting the same bounce that Southampton have got with a new manager, aren't they?
Yeah, the new manager's done wonders for them, and Rob Edwards goes on and he goes to Wolves. He's, it's a story written, isn't it? That they will pass each other. Wolves will go down, and Middlesbrough will go up. But it's a sleeping giant. Middlesbrough is a football club, huge football club. I'd love to see him back in the Premier League as well. I've enjoyed seeing Sunderland back in the Premier League, actually. I watched them yesterday, just going off topic, but I really enjoyed watching them play yesterday, and the way they've adapted to life back in the Premier League was
it's not
really
off
good
topic,
to watch.
Martin, because it's the shining example. I know we can say, oh, well, they're not necessarily representative of everyone when it goes up, but they are showing what can be done if everything lines up and you get 9 out of 10 things right.
Yeah, and they have. And I watched Saka in midfield yesterday. It was just like, he was everything about their performance I enjoyed. They really fought for each other. They've recruited well, but the team spirit was just brilliant. I would have loved to have seen us have that Southampton last year. That togetherness, that team spirit. And I saw them all at the end with the photograph at the end. I know it was a bit of a dig back at Newcastle and what they did years ago. But I just thought together, I just enjoyed the performance. And it's nice to see a team go up and do what they've done, because it gives everyone that little bit of hope. I think it needed to be broken, didn't it? Like the yo-yoing of several clubs, it needed to break somewhere, and you need a couple of sides to make it stick now. And it would be, when was the last time Coventry were in the Premier League? It seems like a lifetime ago.
Nearly 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, for them to get back and to see Lampard go and manage back in the Premier League, I think he will do it. You've got to give him massive credit for what he's done at Coventry, because he's really took them to the next level after Mark Robins. And Mark Robins is a great manager, but left some great foundations at Coventry to get them there. I do think Coventry will do it, though.
Right. Let's finish this out then by talking about where Southampton fit into this conversation. So obviously I can probably be a little bit more... I'm not saying you're not going to be objective, but you've got the whole fan emotion, anxiety about all of it. But I look at the Southampton squad and Eker seems competent. And even if it is just competent from Eker and the Southampton players now, they end up in the playoffs. Whereas if it's very good, then they've got a chance of challenging for the top two. Although... mate, that is a 12-point gap. People tell me it's a long way to go. I'm telling you, that's a massive gap, that where you've got to, if Middlesbrough are also competent, then you know what happens, don't you? But where does Southampton fit into this conversation? Are they just going to slide into the playoffs, or are we going to see something spectacularly good or spectacularly bad either way?
I think we'd have to do a lot to get a top two position. I really do. I think we'd have to be better in so many areas. I think recruitment in January will be important. A goalkeeper. I still think we're a striker short. And if you've got a couple of injuries to big players, I spoke about Cienza and Fellows. If they get injured, though they have a huge squad, I don't think the squad's full of quality other than that main 11. I think there's a lot of players that won't massively improve us. I think that's probably what they need to do. January will be key. I wouldn't be surprised to see clubs come sniffing Cienza. I wouldn't be surprised because he's been that good. I just feel he's got something really special about him as a player. Playoffs for me, I think is where we'll end up. And with the squad we've got and the players at his disposal, we absolutely should be there. Defensively, I'm worried. I'm worried about our game management because it doesn't seem quite good enough at times. We don't seem to be able to see games out well enough. I think a lot will need to improve. I still think Eker, though the coaching staff's not all been assembled, his team's not been assembled, I still think he needs somebody there, maybe a defensive coach or somebody with a bit of experience next to him because it's the under 21 coaching staff that are with him.
Surely the game management thing is down to what you've just said, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I watched that against Norwich. I watched it against West Brom. And West Brom could have walked out of St Mary's last Tuesday with a minimum of a point, really, because they come really close. They really peppered our goal late on. But the game management, the substitutions, we just got overrun. And I was really concerned for a moment or two. So I think game management is going to be key. Defensively, we have to get better. And I think you always need a plan B. We talk about plan Bs a lot in football. Sometimes you have to find ways to break teams down. You need something slightly different in game. And it doesn't always pan out how you expect it to pan out. And from what I've seen so far, that's where he's fallen short a little bit. I don't want to be critical of him because he's done a really, really good job. It's magnificent what he's done. Fair play to him. But we've got to go to the next level. For me as a fan, and any other Southampton fan, we want to see our team in the playoffs. But if we were to get to the playoffs, you've got to be really, really savvy. And to be fair, when Russell Martin got us there last time round, that game plan and the way he plays football went out the window a bit in the end because we didn't really play Russ Martin style football in the end. I think maybe, I don't know if it was the players took over, but that final against Leeds, it wasn't a Russ Martin performance.
No, very much so. Sorry, I said last question. This is the last question. Let's have a bit of fun with this. Any chance I'm going to be messaging you before the playoffs because we might end up with Ipswich versus Southampton? It could happen, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think it could happen, or a Southampton, Leicester. I could see it happening. I think whatever happens, I think Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester will be there. I think we'll be in the playoffs. I just feel that the cream will always rise to the top, and it should do with the squads that the three of us have got. I do think we'll be there.
Interesting. Right, what we do with this, we're going to use the collaborator feature on YouTube. So if you hit the subscribe button, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you will automatically be subscribed to Martin's excellent channel over there. And as you can hear, Southampton, I've got to say, fair dues to the media team at Southampton. I'm always a big supporter of content creators like Martin, and I'm a big proponent of clubs. People want to see people like Martin talking to Will Still and, talking to people there. So what else can they find over at the Football Martin channel?
Yeah, we might have something very exciting next week. I'm not going to give too much away, but I'm working on something really exciting for the festive period. Loads of content. I cover everything Southampton-wise. So from news to tactical analysis, we look at instant reaction videos is what everybody comes to me for, like post-match reaction as I leave the ground. I love to post it within sort of half an hour of the final whistle. People enjoy it, and the Will Steele opportunity was brilliant by the football club that I, as a fan creator, was able to sit in a room and talk to the manager. And actually, it was a lot of people come to me afterwards and said, Martin, that was probably the best interview he did during his time as a Southampton manager. Hopefully there'll be more opportunities like that. Watch this space. And I just keep bringing the best in Southampton content as I possibly can. I thoroughly enjoy it. And I think the people that tune in enjoy it as well.
Absolutely. And I'm one of them. There you go. So hit the subscribe button and go and check out Martin's channel. And please get involved down there in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. I'm really interested to hear from Coventry and Borough fans. Talk about the top two race. Really interested to hear from Preston, Millwall and Hull fans and Stoke as well. When we finish talking about possibly the parachute teams, I'm sure fans of those sides who are up there now will have something to say about that. Let it burn in the comments. And Martin, thank you so much for coming on, mate.